Welcome back to Drumming with Dominic. I'm Dominic Neri, and today we're going to talk about routines, specifically mine, what I created, and why I created it. So, routines. Love them, hate them. Seems like everybody has an opinion about them. Some people like to be really free-form with their practicing, with their life in general, and they just like to flow through it. And maybe that works for you, and that's fine. I'm somebody that really took on the ebb and flow of my practicing, really my life in general, and I can say since getting a routine, my results have gotten a lot better in every aspect. So for me, I am somebody that likes to not be so tied down into rigidity when it comes to routine. So what I like to do is keep my routine structured but open. So I have things that I'm going to do, but it's not going to be the same thing every day, and I'm going to leave myself some windows that I can just play around, and still enjoy drumming. I find when I get a little too bogged down in trying to get everything on course that I start to lose the passion for drumming, and once you start losing your passion, you're going to start losing your focus, and your practice is just going to diminish. So the more fun you can have, the more easy you make it to get into a state of flow and enjoyment, the better your practice is going to be, and the more efficient. You won't have to spend as much time forcing all the practice in if you're actually enjoying what you're doing. So, starting with my morning, because that is where my day starts. That makes sense. I wake up and then I go to my coffee maker and I chug a huge cup of coffee. Really effective because my wake up time is 2:15 in the morning because that is my me time and that is when I take advantage of things. So a note about drinking coffee in the morning. I have a programmable coffee maker, so I put my grounds and my water and everything and program it for 2 in the morning. So when I wake up at 2:15, I can just go and drink coffee, and then I'm just ready to go. And the note I'm trying to make about this is I used prior events to make my routine start off easier. So routines are really, for me, a huge thing about it is efficiency. And if we're just talking about making a routine more efficient, time, saving it, and giving yourself more of it to use for things that you're trying to knock off that routine list, that's huge. The name of the game really is, in that routine, you have a set amount of time, how many different things can you do within that routine? Because we're trying to, or at least for me in my routine, I'm trying to knock off a huge array of things to feel like I got a lot done that day. And if I get all that done that day, then the next day I can just do the same thing, and I like to build. So, setting myself up for success the night before makes my morning routine so much easier. I think about if I have to wake up, get grounds, get water, wait for it to brew. I'm slow doing everything because I'm tired. I probably waste 10 to 15 minutes just doing that. So if I take the night before and do 2 minutes of just putting everything and getting it ready to go, I save like 13 minutes. That's huge. Those little time saves will make your routine more efficient and you'll get more done. So I drink my big cup of coffee, I grab some water, and I head upstairs. From there, I do my first big thing for the day, which is to meditate. So meditation is a great way for me to start my day because it does mainly 2 things for me. The first is it creates a good state of mind for me to jump off into. I'm usually starting with things that I'm grateful for. I'm also setting goals when I'm doing my meditation. So doing that creates a good framework that I want to take into the day. The second thing that meditation does is it requires you to focus because you're usually closing your eyes. For me, I close my eyes and I'm thinking intently. And when you're tired, and meditation in general is just difficult because your mind likes to wander. So the second thing it really does is it helps me start to focus because I'm going to need focus to be more efficient in my routine and more efficient when it comes to my practicing. I meditate for around 20 minutes. So once I finish my meditation in the morning, then I like to do the physical preparation for the day. the physical warm-up for the day when I do my workout. So I work out for around 30 minutes. I usually don't go too crazy. I have a little home gym, which is just like a reformer, a pull-up bar, a push-up. You know, it's simple, but what I like that it does is, first off, it's another multifaceted thing. First, it helps me push myself. I want to be creating a space. I want to be creating a frame of mind where I'm pushing. Because the more I can push, the more I can tolerate, you know, whether that be physical pain or mental endurance, the more that's going to translate to my drums. So that's why it's a big thing for me to start with that mental preparation and that physical preparation, because drumming is a mental, physical instrument. And when I start off the day by priming both of those things, it makes my drumming way more efficient. I get way more out of it. So starting with those two things is really big for me. And also through working out, you're awakening the body, you're getting blood flowing. I mean, it's a great way to liven yourself up too, bring more energy to yourself. So once I prime myself physically and I prime myself mentally, then I gotta fuel myself up. So I grab some food and I sit down, and while I'm eating, I'm editing. Usually I have at least something to edit in the mornings, whether it be practices or social media or drumming with Dominic. So getting some time here to eat and get some of that stuff done is really nice, because I need to knock it off my list, and it's a really good window to do that. I do this for around 30 minutes. Another great thing that I've started to add into that routine is I'm really trying to work on my ankle technique when it comes to drumming. So I bring my drum throne up here, and I stick some drumsticks under my hamstrings, which elevates my legs a little bit. So then my legs are off the ground, and I can use my ankles to tap and warm up, essentially. So it's a great trifecta thing, and when we talk about routines, we're talking about efficiency. And so this is a great moment, because the mental and the physical warming up, they're sort of self-serving. They do serve other purposes later on, but they're very specific. This one right here, the editing, I get to knock off eating, editing, and drumming, which is just great. It's a huge time save. Usually the sort of stuff I'm doing with ankle technique is just really simple stuff, because I am eating and I am editing, so it's more of a passive thing, almost like a warm-up, but there's, you know, good value in it regardless. I'm usually doing single strokes, double strokes, paradiddles. I'm working on rudiments with my legs, and then I'm also doing some endurance exercises. You know, if it's a 30-minute thing, sometimes I'll just do 20 minutes of tapping, you know, at a decent BPM. That just makes me feel warm, and it's a great way to warm up. And also, if that's all I'm gonna do that day, it's really nice to just have done something too. All right, I know. Get to the drumming already. It's called drumming with Dominic, not meditating or working out or editing with Dominic. But these things work in cohesion with this. That's probably not the accurate way to say that, but I don't care. These things work together with my drumming routine. When I do all of these things beforehand, I'm primed and ready to go when it comes to drumming. So now that I've gotten good mental and physical warm-ups, I get down, and I don't have my drum set anymore. Well, that's not true. I don't have my drum set set up, and it's also, by this time, 4:15 in the morning. So I do not have access to play a drum set, because it's too early, and also I live in a neighborhood. So I have to do pads, which is not my favorite, but you make do. And I will tell you, even though I haven't had my drum set since really Corona started, so it's almost been 9 months, 8 months, something like that, some crazy number, I have gotten better as a drummer. And it's no surprise, because even though I haven't been able to play a drum set, I put in daily routines for like the last 8 months. So I've gotten way better than I was on a drum set. And because I'm focusing on pads, it's almost good to limit the options you have, right? It makes you be more creative. So when I'm on pads only, I have to think outside the box when it comes to practicing. How can I make things, you know, more creative or more efficient? And you know, pads can only go so far, realistically, but with those pads, I get really good mechanical practice. So when I do get behind my kit, I'm solid, I'm tight, I'm ready to go. And I really make use of the drum kit time for my creative moments. So my morning routine for drums is I do about a 5-minute warm-up where even though I've warmed up a little bit from editing, I want to start incorporating my hands and my feet, and usually I'll try to do some kind of syncopation exercise where I'm just matching or alternating, and I just want to get my body moving together. After that, primarily because bass pedal is the thing I'm trying to work on the most right now, because the band I'm in, I regressed a lot because I wasn't using double bass pedal. It's really imperative for me to keep honing my bass pedal skills and improve them so I'm actually able to make them a strength and not just something I'm getting by with. So after my 5-minute warm-up, I do 20 minutes of some kind of bass pedal exercise. One of my favorites is to do like a start-stop, because that's something I struggle with. If I'm playing something already, I can, play it pretty consistently, but it's when I'm going from nothing, from a rest, to immediately going into a succession of notes, that's where I struggle with. So I do a nice little bass pedal exercise where I do like 3 bars of, singles on my right foot, and then I'll stop for, 1 bar, and then I'll do the same thing again, 3 bars off 1 bar. Then I'll drop down to 2 bars, wait 1 bar, 1 bar, wait half a bar, and essentially all I'm doing, or I'm cutting in half of each one. So when I'm starting with a big succession of notes with a long rest, then I go to a shorter succession with a shorter rest, so on and so forth. So my start stop's pretty much 1, 2, 3 rest, 1, 2, 3 rest, 1, 2, 3 rest, and that's really good to work on a weakness of mine. And also, it's just a good bass pedal exercise. Very, very great utility that it offers, because and a lot of times when you are drumming, you're doing very quick bursts and you're starting from no momentum. So to be able to create momentum and sustain it is really important. I do the same thing with my left foot as well, and this usually takes around 20 minutes. After I do my bass pedal exercise, I usually go on to sort of a mind twister, a mind bender. Essentially what I want to do is do some kind of difficult coordination or dynamic exercise that makes me push my brain. I don't want to only be doing like hands and feet coordination exercises. They're great, but a lot of times you get a little too just bogged down in that. So what I like to do is create some kind of situation, some kind of parameter in my mind. I have to do accents on the and of everything while I create a beat underneath of it. And all I'm really trying to accomplish in the 20 minutes that I leave for this is to make my mind really think. It's going to mess up, and it's almost like independence exercising almost. I want to push the bounds of my mind to create more opportunities for creativity. After I've done my warm-up, I've done my bass pedal exercise, I've done my creativity exercise, then, which I would recommend to anybody that's in a band out there, I take one song that my band plays consistently, whether it be out of a set or whatever, or I'm trying to learn it. I take one song each day and I break it down. I do a 75% speed run, 88% speed run, and 100% speed run. Even for songs that are really easy, I still do it. Because what I find is not only over time can you forget things and start to be a little rusty when it comes to playing those songs, but also the more you play it, the more intelligent you become when you listen to that song and when you play that song. The more differences, the more moments you're going to be able to pick out because you keep playing it through these slow speeds, these faster speeds, and you start to really pick out things and you become more musical when you do that, because you're listening to it and you're really understanding it more and more each time you play it. And then you have the added benefit of just when you come to practice, you know the songs, and everybody can trust and depend on you to have your shit together. That's a really good thing to know, especially as a drummer. You're holding it down for your band, so you really don't want to be making a bunch of mistakes, especially when you can avoid making mistakes by just playing one song a day. If you have a 5-song set, if you do it, Monday through Friday, by practice, you're going to have played all the songs and you're going to be tight when it comes to the set. So it's a really good way to just keep refreshing and also keep diving deeper into that song. After I've done my set song for my bands, then I like to do about 20 minutes to work on a cover, whatever one I'm working on. I want to spend a little bit of time to just keep breaking down, almost like the set song. I do like a 75, 88, 100, and I just want to keep pushing. I spend a little more time here because the covers are moving a little faster, and I'm going to have to, learn them quicker, and then I forget them quicker. So I just want to put a little more time in with the 20 minutes and then move on. A way I set myself up for more success, though, is like when it comes to covers, like at work, if I have a little bit of downtime, I will play that song in my head and think about, one way I make my practice more efficient here when it comes to learning covers is like at break or at lunch, when I actually go to work, I listen to those songs and break down mentally what's happening. So when I get to my pad practice, 20 minutes, I'm really making the most out of it because I'm not trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Usually I've done so much mental homework by listening that I'm working on the mechanical part of putting it all together. That's a really great way to save time because, like I said, I've got 20 minutes to work on that cover each day. And if I'm learning, that could take a really long time. But if I'm just using little moments in between my day to break stuff down, and then I use the 20 minutes on the pads to actually perform those parts that are broken down, boom, time save right there. So for the last 20 minutes of my routine, I do endurance. It makes sense here because it's the end of the workout, the end of the routine for me, so I want to do a good burnout to, push it to the limits there. Push yourself, but within limits of keeping it clean and keeping it safe, right? So for me right now, I'm doing like 145 for 20 minutes on the bass pedal. And that's just a good muscle mind builder. And the more I do it, the more it sinks up here. And I also get the added benefit of endurance for my body, which is really important when you're playing metal music. On top of my feet doing that, I usually do a hand technique or a hand endurance exercise too. It'd be like double strokes with accents, single strokes with accents. And I like to just do that on top. Instead of just doing like a quarter note pulse with some snares on the 2 and the 4 or the 3 or whatever you standardly do when you do bass pedal exercises, this is a time because I'm doing something a little passive with my feet, by just keeping them going at the same speed, I can focus on my hands too. I don't usually have to spend as much time up with my hands as my feet. I'm more naturally inclined and I have more time into them. So I spend more time thinking about my feet, but just doing the 20 minutes here for my hands specifically too, or at least in conjunction with my feet, is a great way to improve my hand dexterity and my touch and feel with my hands. So I used to practice for 6 hours a day, and now I practice for like an hour and 40 minutes. And the funny thing is, I've actually gotten way better with the hour and 40 minutes on drum pads than I ever got with 6 hours behind a drum kit. And what I've come to find out is because I have less time and I'm more restricted, I make more of the situation that I'm in. And because I'm making a lot out of an hour and 40 minutes, I'm gaining so much more than, kind of taking for granted the 6 hours behind an actual drum kit. And the really great thing is you don't have to have a whole ungodly amount of time to become great at an instrument or to improve on an instrument. What you really just need is a good plan. You want to have a plan of attack so you can be efficient. You need great focus. So when you're playing and you're present, you're there and you're actually getting things done. You're actually thinking about why things are happening and how it's happening and feeling what it's like to hit the notes and bring everything together. And then the third is you need repetition. And if you're repeating this daily or, 5 days a week, if you're repeating it within a consistent time frame, it's just a matter of time and you're going to improve exponentially. For a while I felt just very linear and, I could play 6 hours a day and I would just move, just whatever, because I wasn't really there. Even though I was trying to be, it just wasn't for me. I couldn't do that. But now that I'm in a situation where I have to really focus and be present and do it consistently, I'm moving way up. So to anybody that spends a lot of time behind the kit and they're not really finding the results they want, try cutting back on some time and really focusing on what you're doing. So try spending some of that time you spend behind the kit to plan out what you want to do. And then do those things and try to be as present as possible. And then the biggest thing is, where I failed a lot, is do it as much as you can, like within days, not like as much as you can in one day. What's the most you can do in a week, in a month, in a year, you know? Just be consistent. Think about it long term, because the more short term bursts you do without long term repetition, the more you're setting yourself back. So that's my routine. And with it, I've managed to make so much more progress than I ever did before with even more time, because I'm really thinking about why everything in my routine exists. You know, I'm not just going and trying things. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do beforehand. I'm preparing my state of mind mentally in the mornings. I'm preparing my body. I'm fueling up before practice. I'm warming up, and then I'm actually just getting right into it with a plan of attack, and I'm making the most of it. So, if you want to make more progress with your practice, make sure you're spending proper time preparing yourself mentally and physically for the task at hand, preparing a strategy for what you're going to practice, being present while you're practicing, and sticking with it. That's the biggest thing I recommend to anybody. Stick with it. The more you can consistently do it daily, the better off you're going to be. I still miss days, and I still get mad at myself when I do, because the 20 minutes I spend editing just tapping the floor, that's huge, because I'm keeping that continuity going. And when you keep that ball rolling, it's just getting more and more momentum. So keep getting momentum out there. Keep working on your routine, and I will definitely make another one of these videos, because I guarantee you in 6 months my routine is probably going to look way different, because I also have a kid, and that makes things a lot more difficult to keep consistent. So I plan on making another one of these one day, and I hope you're all able to take some of these steps and see how you can apply them in your own lives. You know, even if it's not just, you know, you don't have to use the whole routine, but maybe there are little parts that you want to try, or, you know, just play around with things, you know, see if you like meditating before practice, or see about finding a good state of mind, see if you might like working out before or maybe after. You know, try some different things with your routine. You know, feel free to experiment with it, because you're going to find what works for you best. But this really works for me, and as somebody that was in a rut for a while with their practice, shortening the duration, focusing more, and being consistent has been the biggest key in getting more value out of my practicing. So everybody out there, make your coffee the night before and you will be successful. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week, and get some sleep. I need to actually go do that.